Well, as promised, let's get some fundamental analysis going. Deven Choksey, MD at DRChoksey Finserv, joins us on the show. Hi, Deven. Good morning and good to see you. Well, the big news overnight is that crude oil prices have slipped to December 2021 lows. Well, one way of looking at it is that you'll fear that the globe is moving into that recessionary mode and things are looking quite bleak globally. The other way is you look for winners. And there could potentially be some that have some gross margin expansion, namely the paint companies. Maybe aviation stocks could do well as well. How do you play this first on the positive side with regard to the falling crude prices? Some of the stocks have already bounced up, but there could be headroom for more.
Yeah, Nigel, good morning. I think on one side there are producers and other side there are consumers. The consuming industries, the companies which are basically using the derivatives of the crude oil, which includes likes of paints or even for that matter specialty chemical companies. For them, the input cost coming down is a very good sign. And currently, the crude oil prices are promising to remain at a lower level in the vicinity of around $65 to $75 to a barrel. Now, if this particular price regime continues, then certainly we are heading for a good time for the usual industry of the commodities. And that's where probably I think one would like to count in the companies like Asian Paint, or for that matter, many of the metal commodity companies eventually, I think because of the energy costs remaining down. So from a perspective of looking at the advantage would go largely to the user industry because on the other side, the consumption demand continues in the country particularly. And that is what is giving confidence to the corporate earnings side outlook. However, having said that, I think in a quarter or so, you might see some kind of a mark-to-market inventory loss booking in some of the companies where the inventory have been bought at a higher price and current level of inventory prices are down. So to that extent, accounting adjustment might take place wherein mark-to-market loss might be get booked, particularly in some of the chemical companies' balance sheet. I think you might see that part of it. So that is one or two quarters kind of a hiccup. But otherwise, I think the overall cost structure coming down is a really good opportunity for some of the companies to expand on the business model going forward.
Deven, sticking with oil and sticking with the decline in crude prices, where do you stand on ONGC? There is a Nuvama note that came out on ONGC where they're talking about two key things. One, that the market is excited with the company's standalone volume guidance of 20%. But Nuvama argues that the company has missed all its past projections and therefore achieving this 20% volume growth may look a little unlikely. And secondly, it's going to be negatively impacted by the sharp decline seen in crude prices. Have you done some recent work on ONGC? What would be the fair value now? If someone holds ONGC, what would be the advice?
Yeah, Rima, good morning. Well, on one side, you are absolutely right that I think there is a promise about higher amount of production coming in, particularly from the gas side, and that's going to be reality. So obviously, I think that is how I think the performance would look positive going forward on that front. But at the same time, I think the prices of crude oil as a commodity is hard to predict. I would think that I think $65 to $75 is a range in which I think it should go. Within this particular range, I think what could be the performance coming in or how much I think the profit impact may come in. Maybe a little too early to talk it out at this point of time because I think there are various equations which are working. On one side, you have got the lower prices. On the other side, I think you already put some of the contracts. So both these aspects, I think, definitely works, I think, for each other in a way. In my viewpoint, I think one could possibly come up with a number, I think, little after once one sees the stability in the prices. At this point of time, I think since the prices are moving, difficult to predict, I think, which way the numbers will be. But certainly, I think the numbers on 20% growth side, I think is a little bit more optimistic as I see, because these companies have the limitations in producing the higher number of growth. Even if they end up producing one, I think it can be seen as a sustainable growth. That's the challenge that one is facing. So, would refrain from putting any recommendation on this particular company. We continue to remain strong with the company's understanding on the business, which is Reliance. And I think that's where I think we believe that the money is best put because they handle the subject very well, even in the volatile situation.
No, got it. Deven, good morning. Just a quick word on two areas, right? The IT services stocks all rallied. I mean, the index itself was up about 2%. And you also had pharma. Actually, IT and pharma were the two big gainers. Pharma, of course, there was that Biosecure Act in the US. Divi's, for example, went up 4%, but not just Divi's, Piramal Pharma was up 10% by close. So many others. Just your thoughts on these two areas and what you like in each of these sectors.
Yeah, Prashant, good morning. For IT services, I think we continue to remain extremely convinced about the prospects in the engineering R&D business and the niche play that some of these companies are offering within that, be it companies like Tata Elxsi or Tata Technology or LTTS, LTIM, or even KPIT. I think the battery of these models, I think the business models, I think which they are basically operating, each of them are giving us the visibility of at least next 2 to 3 years of earning outlook. And that's where we like some of these companies from the investment perspective. We believe that I think their customer base is also offering them reasonably good amount of order book visibility in form of placing the new orders. So to a greater extent, I think this business is look, I think, relatively solid. One can talk about each and every vertical within these companies, but more importantly, I think these businesses are looking good from the customers, the user industry point of view, which they are catering to. Within the pharma space, certainly, I think the companies which are in the API and the CDMO space, I think are relatively looking better because the formulation companies on the other side in the global space have actually been, I think, uplifting the material which I think Divi's and Laurus have been struggling with in the last few years. I think that situation is past now, and I think they are finding themselves on a much better wicket at this point of time. Similarly, some of the frontline specialty generics, complex generics products manufacturers like Sun, Cipla, and Dr. Reddy, I think they relatively have a better outlook to talk about, particularly from the US market side. So I think one will have to be remaining a little bit more selective, of course, and I think the opportunity definitely stays higher with likes of DB and Laurus in the portfolio if one is holding.
All right, Deven, stay with us. We're going to come back to you in just a bit. To turn our attention back to the market, I think Deven is still with us. And by the way, we'll also have interesting management joining us in just a bit from now. There is Office, which is, of course, the stock's done extremely well over the last couple of sessions. Now, another area which actually we did not talk about too much, which was under pressure yesterday, was the insurance pack. So the biggest losers, HDFC Life is down 4%, SBI Life is down about 3.5%. Look at ICICI Lombard, that lost about 3.25%. So we basically got the last number was the August number for both from general insurance and life insurance, shows a bit of a slowdown. And the added sort of disappointment in the margin, of course, was that nothing came on the GST front. And there was some expectation that it's been referred to a group of ministers. Maybe we'll get a decision in the next month, 2 months or so. Deven, I just wanted your thoughts here on insurers, and do you own anything or would you like to buy anything here?
Yeah, Prashant, I think to me the life insurance business is on a fantastic wicket actually. You can't be asking for more. On one side, higher amount of GDP, on the other side, higher amount of allocation towards financial assets as a savings and investment component. And every single individual, I think, is basically contributing to the entire process, be it in the area of mutual fund AMC or be it in the area of life insurance premium or for that matter, pension fund or direct equity. So in my viewpoint, I think the higher amount of contribution towards the new premium, new business premium, is definitely, I think, a good possibility in coming period as well. The opportunity is also largely because of the fact that I think most of these life insurance companies are mature now. Particularly, I'm talking about the private sector companies. They've been in business for the last 20 years now. They've matured themselves even on the format of spending money or expenses. And at the same portfolios, they have actually, I think, started playing out the balance role. The par and the non-par policies within the basket of, I think, the policies that companies like HDFC Life or even SBI Life is having. I guess I think they are offering a good amount of prospects going forward as well. And at the same time, I think the reading says that if you continuously grow the business portfolio between 18 to 20% kind of a growth, it means that I think we are steadier with the growth in the life insurance business. Better would be the management, I think, on the financial side or the profit side. Today, the valuation wise also, I think these companies have moderated because in last few years they have underperformed the market. So to a greater extent, I believe that valuations are not expensive. Maybe this correction in the price would be an opportunity to buy into companies like HDFC Life or for that matter SBI Life in the portfolio, even LIC for that matter in the portfolio.
Deven, do stay on. We need to slip into a very short break on that note.